So as I'm sure you're probably aware, there is now a cave system on Incursion Red River on the quarry map. To me, it seemed shrouded in some mystery, and I wanted to find out exactly what lay inside that cave. And so I'd taken up an operation to plant bugs close to the caves at the nearby warehouse area. And whilst doing this, I could check out the caves and find out what they were all about. And so, having deployed in at a central location close to the river, I closely regarded my map and decided upon a route, one in which I could achieve my objectives by planting the bugs of course, and then moving on to discover the caves, search them and find out what lay within. A short, sharp, to the point mission. And so I rapidly made my way northwesterly up the hill towards the quarry pit. And it was there where I found my first enemies to dispatch. With the new audio in the game now, it was very important to keep my ears open, and I could hear footsteps, but not to the oppressive degree in which they would once be heard. And despite not having a suppressed weapon, I decided upon a stealthy approach. But this was not working for me at first. I was under fire and I didn't know where from. Rather frightening if I'm honest. This was not something I was used to in Incursion Red River. And quite honestly, I loved it. Upon gaining an elevation advantage, I saw one enemy soldier, dispatched him, saw his friend, and dropped him too. But I was certain that I was not out of the woods yet. A quick magazine change, and I was back on the hunt. I was able to take a third chap by surprise with some well-aimed single shots, dropping him in the middle of the road there. But after my earlier shock of coming under fire and not knowing where the enemy was, I was apprehensive. So much had changed in recent days, I could be killed at any moment. And indeed, I came under fire as soon as I started moving. Once again, my shooter's whereabouts were not immediately clear, but at last I spotted him further up the dirt road, and after firing several rather poorly aimed shots, he fell. At last I came into sight of the storage area in which I was to plant my 3 bugs. So far, I had made quite shocking good progress really. I'd be in those caves in no time, if things carried on as they were. So I began planting my bugs, moving through the storage area, keeping a sharp eye out. There was no doubt bound to be some enemy soldiers patrolling this zone after all. And indeed, I saw one of them, oblivious to my presence. And indeed, he would remain so forevermore. Continuing to plant my bugs, I finally came across the last location, a big truck. And that done, I was free to assuage my excitement and finally move into those caves. But first I needed to know the access was clear. Clearly it was not. As I watched from my tower, I came under fire from an unknown quarter once again. And with no clue as to where the shooter was, I felt perhaps it might be safer to simply enter into the caves, and therefore creating a bottleneck, a narrow space where I could not be outflanked or surrounded as easy. But it was unnecessary. My attacker came for me.
Need support! Hostiles located!
Spraying from the hip and fully automatic. Yes, I'm sure you would agree this was rather foolish, and I was very lucky to survive this close encounter right here. But I did, and I was able to continue my mission. At last it was time to enter the caves. I didn't know what I would find in there, who I would find in there, but I made a dash across the open ground and made my way through the entrance. It was evidently well lit, powered, and the curious sound of patrolling feet reached me through the echo. I had to be as stealthy as I could not to give my own position away as my enemy was doing right now. And before long, a sentry appeared. I dropped him with a single shot to the head and immediately heard the sound of running feet. Someone was coming. But in this cave, the sounds reverberated around. It was hard to tell exactly what direction a sound came from. I fired several shots into the man as he came around the corner, and one of his return shots only narrowly missed me. A sure testament to the increased lethality of the enemy now after the update. This chamber of the cave appeared to be a large storage and maintenance area. In fact, there was loot for days in here. Being the pro mercenary that I am, I had made the rather foolish mistake of not deploying with a large backpack. And I was making do with the mini patrol pack I was using that I'd taken off a vanquished enemy. Needless to say, I was already carrying about as much as I could, which is a real shame because as I already said, there was loot absolutely everywhere, boxes and bags all over the place. At last I'd reached a chamber that baffled me. The sound of walking could be heard, but the direction in which it was coming from was so hard to determine. I was quite sure it was coming from my right, in what looked like a sort of moatable area, and as I put a barrier between me and that direction, the sound changed. It now sounded like it was coming from my front, where stones from the quarry were being stored. I was determined the sound was to my front. Indeed, there he was. Another sentry, patrolling around the caves, put down before he had a chance to even fire back. But I was still not convinced that I was in the clear. I kept on hearing noises all around me. It was rather unnerving to say the least. This latest chap carried nothing but a pistol, poor fellow. At last I reached an area of the caves that seemed dominated by a construction site type place. Building work clearly having finished, it was now being used for storage, and here I found a safe. But alas, I did not have a key. But its location was noted down. I would have to pay back another visit to the caves to search what was inside the safe. And indeed, as I pressed on, the sound of wildlife and birds, fresh air reached me. I was clearly heading back towards the surface. And at the exit here, I came across yet another enemy patrolling. We took aim at roughly the same time, but my shooting was quicker and better aimed. I desperately wanted to search the warehouse building off to my front left, but I was struck for time. I needed to end this raid soon. And having dropped yet another bloke, and hearing the voice of one of his comrades to my left, I decided that discretion was perhaps the better part of valour in this case. I would have to prepare to head towards the exit and extract from this map. After all, I knew that the new warehouse was crawling with enemy soldiers now, and indeed, some of them made themselves known to me. With ammunition running short in my M4, I decided to switch to the AK. Then I remembered, the AK I picked up off an enemy soldier. Its durability was not what I would want. The last thing I wanted now was for a stoppage, as I came face to face with another target, and so to switch back to the M4. And it was just as well as I did. A sudden fight broke out with yet another enemy soldier. We exchanged shots and both of us took cover. His cover, however, left his legs exposed, and I was able to bring him down at last. With ammunition low, my kit full of loot, I decided to take one last look in a locked building right by the extraction point of the map, quickly rummaging through the bags and crates there before heading towards the exit. Even now I heard the distant echoed shout of an enemy soldier, and as I took up position by the extraction point, I came under fire from a high-powered rifle. Not seeing my attack, however, I decided to duck out. Thank you once again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this somewhat shorter video than normal. But please do subscribe and ring the bell, of course. Don't forget to press the like button and leave me a comment telling me what you think. If you're interested in joining me in a raid at some point, please join my Discord. Link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you all again very soon. Cheerio.